Hey guys, this is Srini, and in this video, let's continue our discussion about hyperparameter tuning. And in the last couple of videos, we looked at learning rate, momentums, and activation functions. And let's finish off this discussion by throwing a whole bunch of hyperparameters and letting the system tell us what the optimal hyperparameters are for each of these. So here we're going to look at dropout rate, the number of neurons in the hidden layers, the weight constraint, okay, and the batch size, and of course the number of epochs. Let's throw all of these again. It's going to take a little bit of while. That's where a little bit of time to do this. That's why having a good system definitely helps, or use Colab. And if Colab doesn't hang, it doesn't, but the last time I tried this, it says some memory leakage, and made me question the final results. But if you pay for it, you probably get a much better virtual system up there that you can use. Let's jump in. And here is the code. Again, this is exactly the one we used in the last few videos, so let me not dwell too much time on this. So we're going to import the required libraries. I don't think this is required. Let's skip it. And let's go ahead and import our NumPy and plot for plotting. Again, we're not going to plot anything. And this is the important one, grid search. And did I talk about, so I don't think I ever talked about this max norm in the past. So let's go ahead and spend a few seconds on this topic. Okay, so you probably know about epochs and batch size and all of that, right? And in case you don't know what this weight constraint is, okay, it's an update to the network that checks the size of the weights, okay? Because we don't want the network to get too bulky, okay? So it is a constraint, as the name suggests, on the weights. If the size exceeds a predefined limit, okay, then the weights are rescaled to something that's below the limit, right? You can set a limit yourself, but the best way to put a limit is by using maximum norm, or max norm in short. It's a less aggressive way of actually defining, putting these weights. So it's usually preferred in most applications. So other than that, everything else you should be able to recognize in this code. Okay, so now let's get back to our libraries. We are importing grid search CV from scikit-learn, which means this understands how to interpret scikit-learn models like random forest, support vector machines, and others. And we are going to convert our model, our Keras model, into something that this recognizes. Okay, and Keras.constraints, we are going to include import max norm, so we can include that as a constraint to our model. Okay, and I keep doing this. Okay, so the versions of TensorFlow and Keras I'm using are TensorFlow 2.2 and Keras 2.4.3. And let's go ahead and fix the random seed, so our results can be easily compared. And let's go ahead and import our MNIST dataset. Again, I'm not gonna repeat all of that. Apparently I am repeating, but normalizing, reshaping, because we are only using dense layers and not convolutional layers, so we need to reshape to one-dimensional. And then all of these lines are for one-hot encoding of our y values, because we have multi-class problem here. And I'm using train test split to split 90% to something that we are not going to use, and 10% to something we are going to use, because again, our data set has 60,000 images, and that's way too much to do a grid search. We just need a small sample. Well, I'm going to take 10%, maybe 1% also is fine, but maybe 1% is not representative enough, so 10% is probably okay. We'll see. What did I end up using here? Yeah, 10%. So let's go ahead and run this line. Now my X grid should be 6,000 points, and let's define our input shape so it knows what the input shape is. Now this is where we have to spend a couple of minutes, maybe less than that. So we're defining a model as a function, because later on when we convert this model into something that scikit-learn understands, we have to provide this as a function. That's why we define this as a function. Now the things that I'm going to test are dropout rate, right? So I provided that as part of my function right there, inputs. My weight constraint, I'm going to start with 0. well, default is 0 right there, and number of neurons equals to 10. Now let's get in here to understand this a bit better. My first dense layer, normally I start off with, I don't know, in the previous example, 64 neurons here, 64 neurons here. It seemed to work okay, but is 64 the right one? Is 128? Or is 16 or is 32? What is the right value right there? So let's go ahead and parameterize that so we can span the parameter space, hyperparameter space. Okay, number of neurons. That's why I provided a value of 10 right there, because I'm not providing any value right here. Okay, activation. We did this in the last tutorial, and kernel initializer, last video it says HE uniform is the best. That's why I'm using these two. Input dimension is input dimensional. My kernel constraint is what we are going to provide in addition to what we have done last time. And here we're going to use max norm of what? Of my weight constraint right there. Weight constraint is 0, but then we can go to 0, 5, 10, whatever later on. Everything else is same. Neurons. And that's the only thing that we parameterized right there. And let's, where did we run? Input dimension. So let's go ahead and run these lines right there and move on. Now we are using the keras.wrappers keras classifier to interpret our keras model into something that scikit-learn understands. So that's what that line is. Well, we imported the library. We are applying that here, and our function is defined model right there, right? So my function is defined model. And previously, if you looked at my previous example, this is where we actually provided what the batch size is and what the number of epochs are supposed to be. But here, we're trying to perform the search. So I'm not providing that as inputs here. Yeah, if you see this, the only thing that I'm providing as input is what model I'm going to use. And verbose is basically, do I want to print it on screen or not, right? So this is pretty much it. Now, the next few. Dropout rate. Let's try 0, 0.2, which is 20% and 40%. Okay, so these three dropout rates. Weight constraints. Let's try 1, 2, 3. And number of neurons. Let's do 10, 32, 64. And batch size 100, 200, 400. I don't know what the good batch size is. We'll find out. Number of epochs. Of course, in real life, you would go to, I don't know, 50, 100, 1000, whatever. Because of speed, I'm going to just use 1, 5, or 10. That's it. Okay. So let's go ahead and where did we end up? Keras model equals to, yeah, I don't think we ran these lines. So let's go ahead and do that. And now let's define our grid, which is basically a dictionary of all of these lists. That's it. Because what goes into the grid search CV is a dictionary. Okay, so we get this. And finally, we are there. So grid search CV, my estimator is nothing but this model, right? What goes in is the model and the parameters. What is the grid? And this one. And number of jobs equals to 16. Again, I have 32 CPUs. Of those, I would like to assign 16 to this task. And my cross-validation is threefold cross-validation for it to calculate this cross-validation score. You can use 5 if you want, again. So let's run this. And this is basically defining the grid. We defined what the grid space is. Now we need to fit it to every point on this grid so it can plot it, or so it can tell us what's the right one. So let's go ahead and hit this grid.fit on the grid values, right, which is only 6,000 data points. And this is going to take a while, so I'll pause the video, but have a quick, this gives me tremendous satisfaction to see all of these fired up. You may ask, you defined 16, why is almost everything fired up? No, I mean, the way it assigns resources is slightly different. That's a different topic altogether, but the utilization percentage is what we are typically interested in. So let me go ahead and pause this, and I'll continue as soon as this is done. Okay, so this is finally done, just done. As you can see, it was like firing up all the CPUs over there. So let's get back and have a quick look at the results and end this video. So grid results stores a lot of values, including best score, best parameters, and cross-validation results. So let's just look at what is the best one of all. So the best one of all is using a batch size of 100, a dropout of 0.2, 10 epochs. Okay, obviously 10 epochs because I think that's the maximum we went to. Number of neurons 64, that's exactly what we tried the last time, and weight constraint value of 3. So it gives a nice snapshot of everything. And if you want to see how it performed with all the other metrics. Let's go ahead and print it. And if you expand this, you can just go ahead and study all of these at your own time. Okay, so there you go. I hope you learned something new. And in the next video, let's go ahead and do exactly this and finish this entire hyperparameter tuning stuff by actually using regular scikit-learn, random forest, support vector machine, and let's throw a logistic regression. What is the best one for MNIST? Maybe let's work on the same thing. So please stay tuned and subscribe to this channel, because seeing number of subscribers encourages me to create more such stuff, which means you benefit eventually. So thank you.